The path of the downed aviator is beset on all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men.
So no more war?
You know what? According to Trump, and he's been saying this for about 4 weeks now, but we're very close to a peace deal. In fact, he said today, this was big news. He said that Iran has agreed to give up having a nuclear weapon, which a lot of people were like, "Yay, Trump did good." And it's like they've been offering that since the start. Like ever since before the war when we were meeting with them, they were like, "Yeah, we're not going to get a nuclear weapon." Now, you can say whether or not you think they're lying about that.
Yeah.
And if you think they're lying, then you should also think they're lying to Trump now. But I'm just saying they've agreed to have that be part of the terms of this, like for the last year, for as long as we've been bombing them, even going back to the summer, they have said we're not trying to get a nuke. If somebody says I don't believe them and they're lying, I won't argue that point. Like Iran's not very trustworthy, so I won't argue that.
Right. But there were negotiations going on before the war, and they seemed like they were going in the right direction.
So
And instead of like continuing in the right direction, we just bombed them.
So there were negotiations before we bombed their 3 nuclear sites over the summer. We were having negotiations with them. In fact, like the next negotiations were supposed to happen like Sunday I think it was in Qatar is where we were doing those negotiations. And we said we were going to like, and Trump even said like Wednesday or Thursday of that week. He was like, "Well, we're going to have the next round of negotiations Sunday and things are going good." And then like Friday night, we bombed their nuclear sites and just like called off the rest. So they were a little confused. They thought things were going good. Because of that, Oman and England both started sending their like people to sit in on these negotiations to kind of see what the problem here is.
Yeah.
And the last negotiation they had was on a Friday. This is the one where England came out afterward and said that they viewed Kushner and Witkoff as Israeli agents, not Americans. But Oman and England both came out of that and they were like, this is going well. Like we're heading towards peace. And then we bombed them the next day or something like that. And that's when we started this conflict. So if you're them right now, like I hate to even sound like I'm kind of on Iran's side, but like if you're them right now, you have to be very skeptical about these negotiations. The last 2 times things seem to be going well, and then America attacked you during negotiations. What's to say we're not going to make it 3 for 3? So
Yeah.
and the ceasefire ends on the 21st, which what day of the week is that next week?
It doesn't seem like our word counts for much anymore.
It's scary. So Tuesday is the 21st. So would you say that it'd be a shady thing if we kept negotiating with them, but then on the 21st, like as soon as it hits midnight and it goes to the 22nd, we start dropping bombs right away? Like technically the ceasefire is over.
Yeah, but if we're negotiating,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and here's the thing. The knock on the Iranians, and a lot of people agree with this, is like, yeah, they'll keep talking to you. They'll tell you all the things, but they try to drag it on for as long as they can. And then if you're a hawk against Iran, you say they're trying to drag out these peace negotiations as long as they can so that they can, in the meantime, sprint to a bomb in the background, like while you're not paying attention.
but that's what we're doing.
We're not. We already have nukes. Like they're sprinting.
Well, the
towards
only
it.
reason we put together this ceasefire is so that we could re-up on our like anti-defense system, right?
So a lot of people would say that because it seems very clear that we were the ones requesting a ceasefire. Like we were, I don't want to say begging for a ceasefire, but we were repeatedly like, "Hey, ceasefire, are you down?" And they were like, "No." And finally, Pakistan and apparently China, we're learning more and more, got involved, and they got Iran to come to the table for the ceasefire. A lot of people would say it's because we were running really low on interceptors and we needed to reload, basically. And the administration has been kind of like saying, if you're saying that, you're fake news and you're on the side of Iran and this and that. And then Hegseth came out this morning at a briefing and said, we're using this time to reload. And it's like, well, that's what we all kind of thought. So, and I didn't pull the pictures, but soldiers on a couple different ships over there have been posting images of their meals they're having, and it's like a shitty looking hamburger patty with no bun, no nothing, just like a glob of hamburger meat, and then like some carrots, and that's it. And apparently, like all of our ships and stuff desperately need restocked. Now we normally, this is so funny, we normally send our ships from like the East Coast. they would go across the Atlantic and through the Mediterranean and then through the Suez Canal and through the Red Sea and pop out right there by Saudi Arabia. Well, the opening between the Red Sea and I think it's the Indian Ocean is where the Houthis keep that's where they attack ships and shut down that strait. So the Houthis they're basically saying at any minute they could jump in and close down that strait. And if they do that, then that's a whole new ball game. So we're trying desperately to keep the Houthis out of this. We have bombed the shit out of the Houthis for I think 8 to 10 years now. Like every so often we just bomb the hell out of them and they survive. Like they're not winning, but they're also still there.
They're surviving.
So we know for a fact the USS H.W. Bush, it's an aircraft carrier, is on its way there, and it should have been there by now, and it hasn't shown up yet. And it turns out, instead of taking that faster route I just described, going through the Mediterranean and the Red Sea, it went all the way down around the bottom of Africa and came back up for no apparent reason other than we were afraid to take the carrier through that strait right by the Houthis, because if you remember, at one point when we were bombing the Houthis early on in Trump's term, remember we blew up an apartment building with one of their leaders in it, and yeah, they started shooting rockets at our ships, and we lost, and an F-35 or an F-18, it fell off of our aircraft carrier because our aircraft carrier was having to swerve and do S's in the ocean to avoid getting hit by a missile, and so anyhow,
how fast does an aircraft carrier move?
I don't think very fast, but
yeah,
they were
not fast enough to make a ship or a airplane fall off the side of it.
That was the story that our Navy told us, is that they had to take evasive action to avoid a missile, and apparently when they did that, an F-18 or an F-35 just fell off the side of the aircraft carrier.
Just another story that I just don't believe.
Anyhow, so we know.
And hold on, are you not there's definitely cables and cable locks that lock down the airplanes on the ship. There's no way that thing's gonna fall off, even if an aircraft carrier is making the hardest turns it could possibly. I only imagine that a airplane's just gonna fall off.
That was a part of the story at the time, is that all the planes on deck should be basically chained down, strapped down, if they're not about to take off. And that people were wondering, clearly somebody messed up there. That plane should have been strapped down if it was anywhere near the edge. I don't know. I'm not in the Navy. I've never worked on an aircraft carrier, but that people were questioning that at the time. So anyhow, but if we know for sure that our aircraft carrier is having to take the super slow long way around the southern tip of Africa, you would assume all of our resupply ships are now also taking that route. So they think that's what's going on. So apparently morale by the Navy soldiers on these ships is at an all-time low right now. They're all mad and they want to be back home. All of them are getting extended now. They thought their little 10-month deployment was going to be over and they'd be home. Anyhow.
Well, at one point, weren't we spending $50,000 on lobsters for our military?
So, before that's how soldiers know they're about to go to war, is if all of a sudden in the kitchen they're serving you crab or lobster or good steak, you know that this is your meal before you go to war. And that's one of the social media has kind of ruined them getting their fancy meal, because now every time we're about to do something, you'll see pictures that the crew members have taken and put on social media of what their meal is, and that's when we know they got lobster tonight,
going to war,
bombs are dropping. So
last meals, brother.
Exactly. I got a real funny one I have to get out of the way, and I've been sitting on this all day, and I'm excited. I'm gonna play a clip of Jesse Waters for you, and it's 6 seconds long. Okay. Just based off the context clues, I want you to guess which story Jesse Waters is referring to.
Think penis. Penis goes right through your mind. I want the penis. They're going to clip that.
Have you seen? Okay, this has to do with a Trump cabinet official.
Penis goes right through your mind. I want the penis.
This is a Trump cabinet official, a secretary, that is in the news today.
Bessent?
Nope. Now that's a good guess though, Bessent. I see what you're doing there. Yeah, not the guy that lives in the Barbie house.
I have no clue.
All right, I'm so excited to talk to you about this story.
New York Post. RFK Jr. once chopped off a dead raccoon's penis to study later while on a family road trip.
You read that right. I don't know. So hold on. What do we know about him? The dead bear that he found in the woods, and he took to Central Park and he staged it as a bicycle accident. Now, if he wasn't a cabinet secretary, I would say that's hysterical. Like, but that's okay.
He
If
stole a dead whale's head.
okay, hold on, if it was just the bear by itself and he did it as a younger guy, remember he was out falconing, which is always my favorite part of the story. But if you combine that with we know that he found a dead whale on the beach and sawed its head off and
Yeah,
strapped it to the top of the family minivan and drove it home, which it turned out was illegal. I mean, he didn't get any trouble for it, but that's illegal.
totally.
And I feel like there's more, like now we got the dead raccoon penis, but I feel
Wasn't
like
there
we're
another
missing.
dead animal story with him?
There had to have been. I feel like there was.
You think he's a
Let me read the quote from you for you out of the New York Post real quick.
necrobestialiac? Is that something?
That it sounds like it should be. Here's a quote from the article. I was standing in front of my parked car on I-684, cutting the penis out of a road-killed raccoon, thinking about how weird some of my family members have turned out to be. Reads a surreal passage in which the Health and Human Services Secretary, Head 72, was reportedly lamenting his rocky relationship with his brothers Douglas Kennedy and Bobby Shriver. As he was cutting the penis off a road-killed raccoon, he was thinking about how weird some of his family members have turned out to be.
Where did this come out? Like,
I
did he
think this
write this in his memoir or
this
something?
is in a book of his, and like it just got discovered.
It just got discovered.
I don't think it's a new book. I think this is a book that's been out.
As he was cutting the penis off of a dead raccoon, he was pondering how
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 weird.
weird his family was.
How do we not already know that? If that was in a book that's long since been published, which I think that's the story. I don't know for sure.
I he was gonna study it? What does that mean?
Dissect? I don't know. I'm guessing.
Why are you studying raccoon penises?
The thing is, we both know people like this. Like, I'm thinking of one of our friends in particular that if they saw a dead animal, they'd be like, and they'd walk over with a knife and start. But that I don't want him elected anywhere.
Uh,
Yeah. So
I
anyhow,
still don't think he would cut the penis off and take it home with him.
that's true. His cousin might.
I don't know who's chopping. I mean, what the fuck? Okay. I mean,
I thought,
is this before or after brainworms?
that's a good question. I don't know.
That's
I didn't get a date from it. So
that's the question. So
I'll tell
when
you,
did he have brainworms and when did his fascination with dead animals come
it's
into play?
making me want to buy his books. Like if this is all just an ad campaign to sell more books, it's working because
Yeah,
I kind of feel now like one of us should read RFK's book because who knows what else is in there.
I'll
That's all
let
I'm
you
wondering.
do it.
And
I'll let you do it.
on RFK, just so you know, today he had his first hearing. He's got a total of 7 hearings happening over the next like 8 days, and the first one was this morning. It was. I was gonna pull some clips from it. They were all really long clips. The most memorable part for me was one of the Democrats was asking him like, "Hey, you've been talking about mercury and how bad mercury is for most of your career," and he was like, "Oh yeah, mercury is terrible, but it's the number one cause." Anyhow, then they
Mercury?
mercury.
Mercury. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I probably can't
Yeah.
talk well. Anyhow, and then they were like, "So, like, were you involved at all? Were you consulted? You know how the EPA just loosened all those regulations on coal plants and all that, and then now there's going to be twice as much mercury in the atmosphere." And he basically just was like, "That's not my department. Like, I had nothing to do with that. That's not my department." And they were like, "Well, why are you continuing to work for an administration that is doing this?" And he was just like, "Hey, like, if you want to ask me something about Health and Human Services, feel free, but I don't know anything about that. It's not my department." It's like, dude, this has been your whole career. But they asked him that it was a good follow up. They were like, "Isn't this directly about like Americans' health? Like, shouldn't you have something to do with this?" And he just kept saying, "That's the EPA. Like, I don't consult with the EPA. The EPA doesn't consult with me." And
Yeah.
the best point there was, why do you stay in this administration with all the things you believe about mercury? And you just saw what they were doing, and you
And
didn't.
PFAS.
PFAS definitely, but like, I get it that it's not his department, but couldn't he go to Trump and be like, "Hey, you might not know this," and then spit a little bit of knowledge at him, or maybe go to Lee Zeldin, the head of the
Yeah.
EPA? But
Yeah.
it appears he hasn't or it didn't work, and he doesn't want to say he tried and didn't work, one way or another. So
I mean, he's a grifter just like everybody else. And guaranteed RFK is going to come out of the book after he's done with his administration, after it all kind of winds down, he's going to come out with a book, a tell-all about the
That's
Trump
what
administration.
there's a like. So I remember during his first term, there were several people would use the phrase "everything Trump touches dies," and it was like if you work for Trump, like almost no matter what, like you're ruining your career. Like very few people leave Trump's orbit and go on to do well. A lot of times he attacks them and they're on the outs with him. Um,
Sure.
but like I look at first of all Pam Bondi, like we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but what she all she could really do is go be a consultant like that. She's not going to be on TV. No, everybody's mad at her about either Epstein or one thing or another, trying to prosecute Trump's political enemies or whatever. But like Tulsi and RFK, depending on what happens over the next couple, what do we got? We still have like 2.5 years. What depending on what happens over the next 2.5 years, like it's not going well for RFK right now. Like I don't hear from the Maha people at all. And even the one thing that they keep saying is like, well, he adjusted the schedule on vaccines. Like that's kind of the one thing they can all point at.
Okay.
And okay, he did. And the schedule on vaccines is recommended by the government. It's not at all a mandate. It was never mandated before. But even on that note, new director at the CDC. This is from the New York Times. Right now, we don't have a CDC director because that's the lady that quit and then went in front of Congress and tried to basically blow the whistle on everything that was going on. And the Republicans really didn't give a shit. Kennedy from Louisiana kind of cared, but other than that, anyhow.
Hmm.
New York Times. Breaking news. President Trump selected Dr. Erica Schwartz, a vaccine supporter, as his CDC director, a shifting in messaging before the midterms. Maha's very upset about this. This lady, by all accounts, seems like exactly the kind of person that should be at the head of the CDC. Like, it seems like a very responsible pick, and everything that she stands for, vaccine-wise, is opposite of what Maha and RFK stand for. And you would think RFK would have some say in who gets this role, but it kind of right now it appears he got steamrolled by Trump. Trump didn't give him an option, said you're taking this lady, and maybe we'll find out more. This all happened today. This is what we're hearing. So
Yeah, and I just looked it up. At least 145 million lives over the past 50 years have been saved by vaccines.
I'm not
So,
you know me. I'm not anti-vaccine at all. So I'm
yeah.
glad because right now like the other thing they asked him about the measles epidemic that's going on in America, and he was like, "This year we're doing better against measles than every other country," or something like that. And it's like, yeah, we had eradicated it. There's a lot of poor countries out there that don't get vaccinated that deal with measles. Like America, we became on the very small list of countries that have eradicated, and we're in danger of going off that list. So, but
Yeah.
he kept trying to compare us to the world, and it's like, anyhow, it didn't go real well for him today, and that's I didn't want to pull it because I didn't want to be mean, but there were several videos like from the side of him. With his voice thing, does he also have like a neurological disorder going on, or like he was shaking and like he was trying to like flip through pages, and you could see it very clearly, and the videos were from the sides, and
Really?
I've never noticed that, and some people were saying it was just nerves, but like I feel like he's not the kind of guy that would get up there and his nerves would get on top of him. It was weird. That's all
Well,
I'm gonna
there was
say.
also an article that came out. It was talking about the last Trump administration, saying that there was tons of like amphetamines. Oh, wait, they were giving him uppers during the day and downers at night.
So that
And
was
like that
yeah,
was just recent, right? I mean, we
Doctor.
knew it was going on, but like there was a big article that just came out about
It
it.
came out like right at the beginning of his term, and it was that I believe it was Dr. Ronnie Jackson,
Yeah,
allegedly, that is now he's now a congressman from like the Panhandle of Texas area.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, that they called him like the Candyman, or so there was some name for him. It wasn't Candyman, but anyhow, but like yeah, like on Air Force One when they'd all get on, he'd go around and hand out Ambien to everybody. Then when they'd get there, he'd go around and basically hand out like prescription speed to everyone, and just because and. Here's the thing. I don't know anything about these pills. I don't know what he's giving them. I don't know if it was safe, but like it is a pain to like work a full day, then hop on a red eye and fly overseas. Then you get off the plane and now you've got to get in front of cameras again and all that. So I get
Sure.
it. Like the jet lagness, I get, but
Yeah.
also like it just makes me wonder. Like if you're doing that on a regular basis, that can't be very good for you. That's all I'm gonna
You
say.
know who else did amphetamines?
Who?
Adolf Hitler.
The video. So that's what it made me think of today. The video of him at the Olympics when he's sitting in his chair and he's like just like
Yeah.
RFK wasn't nearly that bad today, but it was the same kind of vibe where it was like, dude, like I when I saw the video after the hearing and it was almost like, why didn't anybody step in and see if he was okay? Like he was clearly like, but maybe he shakes like that all the time and we haven't noticed. So I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't noticed.
Yeah. One lady, one Democratic senator did say she was like, "Oh, so why do you think you can use taxpayers' money to sit in a hot tub shirtless with Kid Rock or something like that?" And he got mad and started. It was funny. So
He got mad?
he got confrontational with them a couple times, and at one point, one of the Democrats was talking about Americans' health being at risk, and he told them you need to calm down. RFK told the guy you should calm down about this, and the guy went off, and he was like, "The people in my district care about their health and their health care and not getting kicked off of Medicaid," and he just went off, and it was so there was a couple of like shouting moments today. Anyhow,
Okay. Interesting.
so
I saw none of that. On the measles note, we are at 1,714 measles cases today.
which I think for only being April is like it's not an all-time high, but it's a high since like 2001 or something like that. Since
Probably the highest since like 19, whenever we eradicated it.
yeah. Oh well, it doesn't seem like
Oh
we're gonna do
well.
anything about that. So, the other thing, real quick, that I wanted to get to, Jessica Tarlov, one of my favorites on Fox News, I think one of your
Love
favorites.
it has to be my favorite on Fox News. There's nobody else that I can think of that would be any better than Jessica Tarlov on Fox News.
Oh, what about Jesse Waters though? He's awesome. I'm just joking.
Yeah.
Um, anyhow,
He's thinking about the penis.
Trump mentioned her when he called in to Fox and Friends, actually, and she wasn't on the show that day. This was a couple weeks ago, and he mentioned Jessica. He brought her up, and he was like, "Yeah, she's always making up these fake poll numbers about me. Like
Yeah.
she says I only have 40%, but I really have like 90% support." Anyhow, he's tweeted about her a handful of times since then. Like it's clear that like she is now very much on his radar. He's watching the five, I guess, because he's tweeted about her a bunch. The big story today, just to set this up, the Trump administration really wants to focus on the no tax on tips and all the things they did in their. The only thing they've passed legislatively was what they call it the Big Beautiful Bill,
Uh-huh.
and they were thinking that the average American family was going to receive anywhere it was like between 800 to 1100 more on their tax refund than they would have without the Big Beautiful Bill. So
Yeah.
they were setting up this week to celebrate. Everybody's getting their tax refunds. It's way higher than you expected. It turned out it was like $375 higher than last year. So the average refund about $375 more in people
375?
375. Now, everybody was quick to point out that, well, when you calculate in the tariffs and how much more everybody paid on tariffs, which I think they said was like 12 to 1400 per the average family, and then the price of gas, they're saying if this extends throughout the year just at these prices, is going to be like an extra $900 per vehicle or something like that. It was something crazy like that. So basically, the 375 you got on the taxes, you've already spent plus more on all the other things he's done as president. So
Oh, I watched that whole thing with, I don't know who that other lady is, but there was Scott Bessent, Pam, not anybody, who's the other blonde? The
Carolyn Levitt,
Carolyn Levitt.
okay.
Carolyn Levitt, Scott Bessent, and then some brunette girl. That's, she's got to be in the administration in finance somewhere. Oh, small business. She's the small business, the head of the Small Business Association or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know who that would have been.
Yeah. Anyway, I pulled a clip from that because, they're talking about all this stuff and how they're gonna raise American income this year.
I think I might know where you're going with this.
I want to encourage everyone out there watching today to change their withholding if they haven't already done so. Because if you change your withholding, then you will get an automatic real wage increase, be on a weekly or a monthly basis, and you will be able to keep more of your money this calendar year.
That's a beautiful idea, Scott. I saw him say that the other day. Here's the thing. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
No, you got it.
Oh, okay. If you're smart, that's what you do. You try and like pull as much as you can out so that you don't have to pay any taxes, but you're not going to get any refund at the end of the year. And you take that money and you put it into, the stock market or a high interest savings account or something like that. That way you're making interest on that money. But the government shouldn't be telling you that because they want that money so that they can make interest on that money, right? Because it helps the American government if they have that extra fund to put into the stock market or, a high interest savings account or something like that, investing in somewhere. So what are they doing?
So I know exactly what they're trying to do. Right now, the big thing is that you want real wages, which that's a calculation to get to real wages. So real wages, I think that's your take home is kind of the best way to describe it. I'm not 100%
Mm,
on this. If anybody here's an accountant and I'm messing it up, I'm sorry.
okay.
But the goal is you want real wages to at minimum keep up with inflation or better yet, outpace inflation. So if real wages are growing 2% per year, you want inflation to be under 2%. That way it doesn't feel like people are losing money every year.
Right.
For the past several years, inflation has definitely outgained the real wages gains. That is definitely the case in Trump's administration. I think they're realizing that inflation is gonna be 2 to 3% minimum. Like they're not gonna get it under two like they promised. And just with the gas alone, if you just take what's going on in Iran right now, that's gonna be this way through the summer. Even if they strike a peace deal right now, Scott Bessent in one of his speeches said that he's very optimistic that by the end of summer, the national average will start with a 3, which right now it's like 411, 415, somewhere in that range. And he thinks it's going to get down into the threes again by the end of summer. So if you just take that, price of fuel going up makes everything else go up. We've talked about that. So they
Yeah.
realize there's no way inflation's coming down. The only thing they can do is grow real wages. And there's really no tool in the toolbox to do that. Except a very inventive one. Everybody go lower your deductible. That way your take home every week is bigger. And on paper, they'll be able to show, if everybody in America did that, they would be able to show a real wage growth next month or quarter whenever they do it. And
Okay.
it would get him through the midterms.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's what they're trying to do.
Okay. So they want everybody to, it's kind of a nightmare. Like, I feel like the government should be using that money to
The
invest
the
in
only
our
reason
world.
I'm not worried about it at all because like I'll bet for some people it's very easy, but for the majority of people to like go through and change your withholdings and all that, it's a hassle they're never going to do. They might hear that and go, "Oh, that's a good idea."
Probably.
They're never actually going to follow through with that. It's
Probably.
not something you can just hop on your phone and do real quick. Maybe it is for some people. Um, Anyhow, back to Jessica Tarlov. Kellyanne Conway was on the five today, and she was going on and on about the money that people have saved on their taxes this year. Jessica had a great response. I'm going to play the response, but just because I want you to know what Trump definitely saw. Um, we know that Trump was watching this live because he tweeted immediately afterward. But here's Jessica today on the five.
We just say the same thing every day on that. Kellyanne brings up this tax refund. The $375 on average that you got back, which is compared to the $740 extra dollars that you're going to pay at the pump because of the increase in gas prices. You also said the economy was so terrible under the Biden administration. More jobs were created. GDP growth was better. Donald Trump was elected.
Why did they lose?
What?
Why did they lose?
Because it wasn't good enough. And guess what? Now it's even worse. Donald Trump is over minus 30 on cost of living, minus 28 on taxes. And the difference between Kamala Harris talking about the gas prices and the collective burden we all bear to help out our friends is that Americans actually supported what we were doing vis-a-vis the Ukrainians. 71% after the Russian invasion said we should provide weapons. Even today, 69% view the war as important to U.S. interests. That's the Russia-Ukraine war, not the war in Iran right now, which has over 50% disapproval. The other important point to that is that President Biden and Kamala Harris actually got congressional approval for the money that they sent to Ukraine. They didn't just say, I'm going to do what I want. They actually went and they asked people who are elected by us to go into office, what do you think about this? And it was approved. And they were part of a coalition of over 50 countries that sent aid and weapons to the Ukrainians. That's how it's supposed to work.
So go ahead.
How does she stay on Fox News? And like how do people watch Fox News and watch that show and not like go, she seems more reasonable than everybody else on this panel.
So I'll tell you this, like the Trump fans hate her. They think she's a liar. They're like, why? They would say, why is Fox letting her on? She doesn't tell the truth. All she does is gets up there and lies, and they believe that firm because they don't hear that for 23 hours and 57 minutes a day, and then for 3 minutes of the day they hear Jessica Tarlov, and they think she's crazy. Like, where is she? Why is she making all this up? If this was true, we would have heard it from somewhere else.
Why is she making all these numbers up?
Yeah.
And if when they panned out and they showed the whole five or whatever, you see like Greg Gutfeld in the corner. He's just kind of like staring at the ground, and like Jesse Waters is just staring at his belly, and like, wh-
What's
like
funny is
they're just
if
like, yeah, we know, we just can't say anything.
if she was lying, one of them immediately would be like, those numbers are wrong. But they never do that. They'll take some little thing she said in there, and then they'll try to like make a funny out of it, and then everybody
Sure.
laughs, and then they just move on. So they kind of just never address the points she makes, which frustrating as hell. Anyhow, Donald Trump was on Air Force One watching the five live while that happened. He tweeted almost immediately after she got done talking. It's a long tweet, but I'm going to read the whole thing. I'm sorry. I am on Air Force One, heading to Las Vegas and Arizona for greetings and speeches on no tax on tips, a windfall for our great American citizens. I am watching one of the least attractive and talented people on all of television, Jessica Tarlov. Her voice is so grating and terrible. I had to turn her off. Her Democrat sound bites are fake. She makes up poll numbers, in quotes, and nobody challenges her because she's telling the truth. Because she is so boring. I have among the best poll numbers I've ever had. And why shouldn't I? All the country does is win. CNN had me at 100% of MAGA,
Yeah.
saying that they've never saw that before. Get her off the air. She is bad for our country. I hear Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens are dying fast. Their numbers are terrible. No one believes them anymore. They are fake MAGA, and now they've been exposed. President DJT. He called Jessica Tarlov unattractive and untalented, said
Uh-huh.
her sound bites are fake. She makes up poll numbers.
Her voice is terrible.
Her voice is terrible.
Grating and terrible.
Ah, man,
He went hard on her.
that's one of those where I don't think that anybody at Fox has the ability to do this. But if nothing else, I think it'd be a really classy move if like Jesse Waters or somebody that's on that show put out some kind of a tweet and was like, hey, you can disagree with her politics, but there's no need for these cheap shots about, it's just you would think somebody at Fox would have the balls to say anything publicly, but they're not going to at all.
No.
So go, Jess. She's not bothered by it. She retweeted that and put something like, now's a great time to mention my new book's on sale, blah, blah, blah. Like, so she's not bothered by it, but
Nice.
I did get all the most recent polls for us real quick, just so we can. She's making up polls. Trump says his polls are among the best they've ever been. Let's take a look. And
All
these are all the A+ rated polls, so the ones we should all care about. Quinnipiac.
Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, including a Fox News poll. Fox News has the highest, 41%.
Yep. I didn't average this out, but I'd say he's hanging out at like what 38%, somewhere in there.
And this is Trump's approval rating?
Yeah, Trump's a job approval rating.
Job approval rating.
Quinnipiac has him at 38. CBS/YouGov 39, CNN 35, UMass at 39, the different UMass at 33. Fox News somehow the only one in the 40s. AP's at 38 and Reuters at 36. Like I said, I'd average that out at about 38%.
Well, let's look at the reliable polls. Like which polls are the most reliable?
These are all the A+ rated polls. These are the ones that they all are across the board. This is the highest rating. These are the ones we're supposed to
Fox News
trust.
has an A+ rating poll.
You know what? I'm doubting that now.
Yeah.
Maybe not them. I know like
Yeah.
Quinnipiac and the YouGov poll or those get cited a lot. UMass is a good one. I would say CNN and Fox are the two that maybe I'm not actually, but CNN, I know CNN does theirs with an A+ polling company. So Fox might basically have a partnership with. I'm going to go ahead and say yes. I think CNN and Fox might be A+, just because I know CNN partners with, and I can't remember the name of it right now, but it's a name that you would know in polling. Anyhow, so
he's under 40% for sure.
Yeah, he's not. It's definitely not the best they've ever been, as he claims. So now, people are like, we've talked about it all the time, but he's got a floor. And what did I tell you? I think the floor is like 35, I think is kind of the number I always land at 35, 36.
Yeah, I think you start at like 38 and you've adjusted it to like 35 at this point.
I think at this point, like he's not going to go. I think he's going to bounce around between, let's say he's going to go between 35 and 42 for the rest of his presidency. He's going to be somewhere in that range. But just like he has a floor, like he's got a hard floor of 35, 36%. What do you think his ceiling is? Like, let's say he started doing really good. Like, what's his max ceiling right now? After
47?
let's say he no way to make up for what he did on the Epstein stuff. Certain people are just done with Trump on that.
I think his floor and his ceiling are less than 10%, 10 points apart.
Like 35 to 45.
Yeah, let's go there.
Okay, I think you're about right.
That sounds good.
I think it was Britt Hume or somebody today was saying like, well, his ceiling's actually high. It could get up to 55% if the right things happen. And
No,
I don't see that happening at all.
never.
Maybe
No.
I think the people that are. Go ahead.
You know what's scary is the fact that 33% of people are going to, no matter what he does, it doesn't matter what he does because he's already done all the most horrible things. He's apparently a child molester.
We don't know that
He's
at
a
all.
warmonger, apparently, allegedly.
Okay, he's been accused.
His best friend for a decade was a known child molester.
I think it's very safe to say right now you could call him a pedophile protector. Call him that all day long. That's
Okay.
Call him that. But we don't have
pedo
any
protector.
Yeah.
He's a pedo protector. He's just randomly starts bombing countries.
Which
He's made how many billions of dollars? He's using the presidency to make money.
okay.
And I mean, there's a whole number of things we could go through.
Let me stop you real quick.
And there's 33% of people that are going to vote for him, are going to support him no matter what. This is the craziest thing to me.
It's crazy on both sides, though. I'm just going to tell you.
Which sides?
Okay, hear me out. After Biden's disastrous debate performance, if the election had been held the very next day, Biden would have got at least 40% of the vote. And that's equally as crazy.
Yes, because Trump was the other option.
If you just go off that debate, like if that debate was the last thing you saw before the vote, I would stay home. I would be like, this is awful. However this is going to happen, this is awful.
I would vote for Joe Biden in a casket over Trump.
Well, just understand there's a crazy 35% on the right and a crazy 35% on the left, and you're in that crazy 35% on the left.
That's not
you are.
true.
No, you are.
No.
Okay.
Joe Biden is better no matter what in any state than Trump is for our country.
Okay. In my mind, you're in that group on the left.
You would vote for Trump in that scenario.
No, I'd stayed home. If they didn't swap out Biden, I don't know what I can't tell you what I would have done, but like if they would have said no, we're keeping him on the ticket and everything's fine. And now assuming that he continued to look as bad as he did at that debate.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, if my initial scenario was if the election was the next day, and that was the last thing we saw was him at that debate.
Well, the next day he came out and did a pretty good speech.
Again, and like I said, but had that been like the end was like, oh my God, like Joe can't think straight. Like Joe couldn't get a sentence together that night. Yeah. Like I don't know that I would have gone and voted, buddy. I think I would have probably been like, oh, we're fucked. I would have gone home. I would have stayed home that day and tried to figure out how I can move my family to a different country. That's probably where my mind would have been.
Yeah, but at least the country was still moving forward with things.
Okay.
Interest rates. We all knew that Trump was going to do what he's doing now, which is completely fuck our country.
Yeah.
We knew that, right? And Joe Biden,
you knew that.
The Joe Biden administration, let's just not say Joe Biden, because you're voting for an entire administration.
Yeah.
They were actually holding things together.
So
and incrementally making things better in the United States.
The last year and a half, yes. Like the last year and a half of the Biden administration, they figured out what they needed to do and they started doing it. The first 2.5 years of the Biden administration, there was a lot of things I was not a fan of at all. So I will say they'd finally gotten their stuff together and were heading the right way. Biden, real quick, I think he's just at that old guy point where, like, every now and then he has some good days. And, like, I've seen him talk in the past year, and I'm like, oh, God, like, Biden seems sharp as a marble. Who would have thought? And then, like, I don't know if you saw the other day, he gave a speech somewhere, and he off script. Biden should never wander off teleprompter ever. But he was just like, oh, by the way, this guy over here, I keep looking over and I think President Obama's beside me, and you can't see him at first, and you're just like, oh God, it's gonna be a black guy.
I know where this is going.
Just please, it's gonna be a black guy. This is gonna be bad. And then he's like, get up here so everybody can see you. And apparently the guy was like, no. And he's like, no, get up here. And the whole time I was just like, no. I'll say this. The guy finally got up there, and he didn't look a lot like Obama, but he looked just enough like Obama to where it was kind of a relief. I was like, okay, he is a tall, skinny black guy. Like, I kind of like it was close. As he was trying to get him to come up there, I was just like, no. Anyhow, Joe's got good days and bad days.
At a certain point, you need to get out of the spotlight.
Stop putting him on stage. Like,
yes.
And that's what, on that
and
note,
Trump.
On that note, Kamala Harris the other day, somebody interviewed her, and she said she was like strongly considering a presidential run in 2028. And it's like, go home. No, go home. Like, God damn it. So anyhow,
we already tried. You're
as much as we talk about the right on here a lot, like once it comes time for the presidential run or for 2028, if we're still doing this, like I'm going to have to direct some fire at some of these Democrats, because there's going to be a lot of them throwing their hat in the ring that, by God, no, like just stay out. Anyhow, that's where I'm at with that. I got one more funny for you real quick. Trump went on. So Trump interviewed with Maria Bartiromo like twice in 4 days last week on Fox News. He was on her show Tuesday or Wednesday night, and then they did a recorded interview that they played on, I think it was on Sunday morning. This is a real interesting. I got back-to-back clips here. Just bear with me for a second. But you know, Trump's always claiming that the media is taking his words out of context and misquoting him. Watch this first clip real quick and just pay attention.
Overall, the impact on the economy, do you expect a hit to growth? Do you expect a spike in inflation?
Well, look, there's a hit because, we go through it for whatever it is, 6 weeks. There's going to be a hit, but it's going to recover, I think, fully. Somehow they misquoted me. I think oil will be down to the levels it was. They said, I expect oil to be high at the midterms. I don't expect that. I think that we will be somewhere around where we were, maybe even lower.
So he said, the media misquoted me. They said that I think that oil is going to be higher on at the midterms, but I think it's going to be lower. They misquoted me, okay? Now, I happen to remember a clip we played on this show, I think last week. And what's shocking about this is, guess who interviewed him for that one? Because the clip I just showed you was on Sunday. Now we're going to jump back in the past 3 or 4 days. And the same interviewer, Maria Bartiromo, interviewing him. This is the one where her eyes go big when he says a certain thing.
Oh, yeah.
So let's see if the media took it out of context. Did he really say that he thinks they're going to be lower or not? Let's watch.
They all said, we agree.
So do you believe the price of oil and gas will be lower before the midterm elections?
I hope so. I mean, I think so. It could be, or the same, or maybe a little bit higher, but it should be around the same. I think this won't be that much longer.
Did it sound like the media misquoted him there?
No, not at all.
He said it could be lower, it could be the same, it could be a little higher. The media, I think it's definitely going to be lower. The media misquoted me. Okay, that makes me the most mad at Maria Bartiromo, because as a journalist, it's her responsibility there to say something like, "No, sir, the media didn't misquote you. You told me 3 days ago that you think it could be higher."
Yeah,
that'd be an easy thing to say, but you couldn't see her face, but I guarantee you she was nodding along, like, "Yep, they misquoted you." Okay, whatever you say.
This is crazy.
Yeah, so the price of a barrel of oil has gone down a little bit more since our last show, and I think it's at like 92 a barrel or something like that. But the gas price today for me went up 30 cents. So I don't
30?
Yeah, so we were sitting at like 319, and now we're at, I think it's like 347. So almost 30 cents. I thought we
were energy independent.
Well, the problem is, and I was listening to some guy who's like an oil and gas expert that he suddenly has a podcast. I'm sure everybody's curious about it. But he was saying the problem is Trump is bragging recently that like all these empty oil tankers are heading to the Texas coast and the Gulf of Mexico to buy our oil. And this is great. And he was saying, hey, he's not lying. That's happening, and this is terrible for our gas prices. Like we first of all, he keeps saying we're energy independent. We're not. We have enough petroleum, but like the petroleum comes in different forms, and what we actually need for cars, we still have to import a little bit. But now we're exporting some of that we have. Let's say we had like, let's say 90% of what we needed we actually make here. Well, now some of that 90% is going to Europe because the oil companies are going to pay, or they're going to take it from the highest bidder. So if Europe's willing to pay, they're going to send it over there. So it's not a good thing for us, the consumer, that we're about to start exporting like oil, like the kind that goes in gasoline. Like that's going to hurt all of us, but it's great for the oil companies. If you have shares in ExxonMobil, you're about to have a great day. So profits will be record high. Craziness. Trump was on the White House lawn today, and this is the most recent update on gas prices from Trump. I figured we should just have a quick listen.
Okay, and then on gas prices, how much longer will Americans continue to see these high gas prices?
Well, they're not very high. If you look at what they were supposed to be in order to get rid of a nuclear weapon with the danger that entails. So the gas prices have come down very much over the last 3-4 days. I know, and that's what ABC says. But the fact is that if you look at the stock market's up, everything's doing really well.
The stock market, that's all he cares about.
That's all he cares about. Like he said, the stock market's up, everything's doing really well. Okay. Every other measurable we have is not doing well. The stock market's the one crazy thing, and I don't get how it works, but the stock market's doing great. But like everything else we can measure, the price of gas, first of all, not doing great. GDP, inflation, unemployment, like all those things that are normally the indicators of how our economy is doing are not doing well. The stock market is the one thing. And just because that's up, in his mind, we're all doing great. Awesome. Like that's where we're at. And
it's like again, 90% of the stocks are owned by millionaires, billionaires.
Exactly. And that's who he talks to all the time. Like when he goes to Florida to his Mar-a-Lago club, when he goes to Bedminster, whatever, like the people he sees are telling him how great things are going for them, how their portfolio is growing and this and that. So I don't think he's lying. In his head, everybody he talks to is telling him how awesome things are. So in his mind, he truly believes that. It's one of those it's being an out of touch billionaire. Like it's not great to have a billionaire running our stuff. He, in his speech in Nevada tonight, I didn't pull the clip, but he was reading prepared statement like on the teleprompter. And he said like all the pharmacies and grocery stores and corner stores. And he like stopped and he was like, corner stores? What is a corner store? I don't, who wrote this? And everybody in the crowd kind of chuckled and he was like, okay. And then he just kept reading. But it's like, yeah, dude, he's never ran down to a corner store. He's never had to run in and get blah, blah, blah real quick. Like he's got people that do that for him. I don't want to guess when the last time he went to a grocery store was, but like that's our problem is our billionaire president and all of his millionaire and billionaire friends are doing quite well right now because of the stock market. And he truly believes it's like, dude, I haven't talked to anybody who's mad at me about the economy. Everybody I talk to tells me it's going great. And this is going to lead.
Yeah. If you're a billionaire and you go to the grocery store and you spend $200, it's like, oh, that's nothing. This is amazing.
My grocery bill.
If you're working at, Chick-fil-A or whatever, making $15 an hour, like a $200 grocery bill, it's like, oh shit.
No, and that's the thing. Like, if there's 5% inflation on your grocery bill, like they're not ever going to notice that. Like it's just it's a scratch. Like it's nothing. Whereas for a lot of people, if groceries go up 5%, like that's going to be felt. And he doesn't get that. And we should give up hope that he's going to get that because not only is he a billionaire, but his whole cabinet, he's surrounded himself with millionaires and billionaires and nobody's there to talk sense into him. So we're screwed. And also the thing we have to remember, we've talked about this a lot, but Biden's biggest mistake, besides the open border, was his biggest mistake. His second biggest mistake was as Americans were feeling the pinch financially, he kept trying to say, no, the economy's really doing good. And compared to the rest of the world, our economy did handle COVID and the supply chain issues better than everybody else. We've talked about this, but that's not what America wants to hear right now. Like they're not feeling good about it. And the president keeps telling them, no, the economy's actually great. Trump's doing the same thing. Bessent's doing it too. Bessent came up with a creative way to say it today. And it's a quick clip, but I just wanted you to hear him just for fun.
Why aren't we seeing this sentiment? Why aren't people feeling better?
Well, when I was in the investment business, there are consumer surveys but I used to look at what are the people really doing. So at Treasury, we have loads of CEOs come through, whether they're in retail, credit card, the banks, and the consumer, while they may be sounding grim, is actually quite buoyant. So we are seeing spending has been very solid across most categories.
So they might not feel good, but...
Well, look, in their heart of hearts, they feel good. I'm not sure what they're telling the survey people.
He is the greatest gaslighter of all time.
He is. So his
He
point there,
gaslights
though,
the American people about how they're feeling every day, all day.
100%. And his point there is that even though you might be saying to people that you're hurting, the economy's bad, in your heart of hearts, Doc, you know the economy's good. Okay, that's the key thing there. And also, he said in that clip, he helped make my point. He said, oh, all the CEOs we're talking to are telling us how great everything's going. Well, yeah, no, I'll bet the companies are making record profits right now. Like, a lot of them use the tariffs as an excuse to raise their prices. I'll bet their profitability this quarter is going to be fantastic. Same with the oil companies. They're going to put out record profits. So, yeah, I'm sure all the CEOs are telling you things are going good. What they don't realize is all their customers that are buying these things are wincing as they slide their credit card through the machine. Like, it's going to hurt, and now I don't have enough money for this or that or whatever it is. We're still spending money.
I don't think Bessent is as hidden under a rock as Trump is. I think Trump doesn't see that, and when he does see it, like Jessica Tarlov, he says she's making stuff up because he's getting numbers from his cabinet who are like only the good stuff. He's only getting the good stuff. He's only getting the bombs from Iran, the explosions and the rah, rah, rah. Bessent knows exactly what's going on in the entire economy, and he knows what's going on. He's just gaslighting us.
So do you think he's gaslighting Trump? Because when it comes to what Trump's hearing on the economy, Bessent should be the number one guy he's talking to. Bessent is the Treasury Secretary. Like, they should be, like, if he has questions about the economy or if he's trying to decide on what to do, it should be him and Bessent huddled together, and maybe Lutnick. I hate Lutnick. But, like, is Bessent purposely lying for him? Is he doing it because he's afraid to tell him the truth, or is he doing it because this is part of an evil plan for billionaires to get even richer and grow the wealth gap? Like, what do you think?
That's where I was going to go with that. Is I think I would imagine that Bessent is I imagine he's made a lot of money over the last year, or what is it, year and 4 months or whatever.
It's only been that long.
I imagine that his net wealth has increased by a shit ton.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. Anyhow, if there's one thing I thought they would have learned from Biden, it was to not do that, to not try to gaslight the American people about the state of the economy. But man, they're just going all in on it. So
yeah, well, I don't think that's why Biden lost. I think that's maybe part of it, but he was just too old. He was senile.
I think the too old put it to where it was like gonna be bad. It was gonna be a big loss. But I think he would have lost no matter what, just because of the state of the economy. That's the number one reason people vote a certain way, is because of their pocketbook. I know you don't agree, but the polling, the research vets this out.
I kind of disagree with that, whatever that is. I think that if he would have came out in that debate and had a decent debate.
Like, if he would have come out and if he could have articulated what he's done for the economy, yeah, sure. But they failed to do that. It wasn't just Biden. They didn't have any good messengers in the White House that could come out, because all they would do is come out and say, no, actually, the economy's good. You don't know what you're talking about. And it's like, had they come out and said, hey, we understand that you're hurting, but let us show you some figures here. Like, look how the rest of the world is handling this right now. Their inflation is this high. We've managed to only keep it to here. We know that that's not good enough, but we're constantly working to make it better. Like what I just said right there, just rolling off the tip of my tongue. If one of them would have come out and said that, it could have made a difference. But there was nobody in the administration capable of coming out and making that argument. So podcasters.
And even saying like, hey, we went from this and this amount of inflation to this amount of inflation, and just explain it in like simple terms would have helped. Yeah.
The messaging was terrible. So,
exactly.
Yeah. And every now and then Trump thinks his messaging is terrible. So he says, get out of the way. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do it myself. And he doesn't help the situation. I don't know that Biden ever really tried. Like, Biden just assumed things were good. I don't know, but nobody under him was making a good argument. Really, the best argument being made was like Pod Save America or people like that they knew those guys were smart guys. They worked, they were like speechwriters for Obama, and they would basically be saying on their show, here's what they need to be saying. And it's like, pick up a phone and call the White House and tell somebody that. Like, why is nobody listening? But yeah, they were very bad at it. So anyhow, I've only got one major topic left. You got anything you want to cover before we jump into that?
Let's see. Do you want to? Oh, you know what I want to cover?
Okay.
Do you think Turning Point USA is dying?
Yes. I think it's all Erica Kirk's fault. I didn't pull a clip of it. I'm hoping you got one. But JD Vance was supposed to be on stage with Erica Kirk. What was it, 2 or 3 days ago? And at the last minute, Erica Kirk announced that she wasn't going to be there due to threats against her family. Now, everybody was calling bullshit on this. Candace Owens was all over calling bullshit on this. But what's weird is if there was a security threat at the event that night, but they still let the vice president go, like that makes no sense whatsoever. Like it's too dangerous for her. Just send JD out there. Like, what are we talking about here?
Right.
And then I saw videos of the arena.
Well, before you get there, let's watch the video because I think Luke basically kind of chimes it up pretty good.
But first, here's the headline. JD Vance humiliated by embarrassing crowd size at free show. It was free. It was free, so they're losing money on this. Look at this example before we get into these clips.
It doesn't bother me when he speaks on issues today. Frankly, even when I disagree with how he's applying particular principles. So the most obvious example is,
I don't know why this cracks me up so much, but so many people tweeted JD Vance proudly speaks for tens of people. And
I love that. And so that's one of the clips. I wish I'd pulled that. I'm glad you had it. But that's a lot of times you see clips, but then you have to wonder, or you see a picture of an empty arena, but you have to wonder, like, how early was that? Was that an hour before anybody started speaking or whatever? In that video, you can hear JD on stage speaking. That was during the headline event. And people are guessing there was about 1,000 to 1,200 people there. It was like an 18,000 seat arena.
It was a free event.
It was a free event. Now, you did have to reserve your seat online. You had to go online and whatever. And Andrew Colvett or whatever, the guy that was Charlie's best friend that's basically taken over, he came out the day after that and said that, well, the Democrats, what they do and what they did to us is that they went on and claimed they bought all the tickets, which it was free. So they didn't buy, but he said they bought all the tickets and then didn't show to make us look bad. According to several people, right up till the show, you could go online and still get a ticket. So his argument is that it was sold out. Journalist type people have said no. Like, we checked right before as the show was going on, we checked and you could still get a ticket. Like, so I'm gonna call bullshit on that. Candace Owens had a very just direct tweet to Erica, and it was like, "Oh, Eric, I can't remember, I wish I'd have pulled it, but it was like, oh, Erica, stop with this bullshit. Like, everybody knows there was no threat against your life. You were embarrassed because there was no turnout and you didn't want to be associated with it, so you left JD hanging out to dry. Like, it was something like that. But yeah, I don't, with Candace Owens involved, sorry, not Candace, with Erica Kirk at the head of it, I don't see how TPUSA makes a comeback. Like, she's kryptonite for them. And when all the stuff first went down, I was trying really hard to be like, hey, be respectful. She's a grieving widow. Like, that was my mindset. But the more she went on all the shows, she had that interview with Bari Weiss where she was creepy as hell. Like, every time she talks, she makes it worse for herself. And now I'm kind of like, she had the opportunity to go away. I don't mean to be rude, but like, go grieve in privacy, take your kids. Like, but she insisted on, like, she made herself like the chairman and CEO of Turning Point USA. And she's not the right person to lead that for a lot of reasons. And also,
didn't she get kicked out of a country? Didn't TPUSA get kicked out of some country recently?
So she had some kind of a, oh, it wasn't a church, but it was like an evangelical organization that had to do with like fostering children. And her and her organization got kicked out of Romania. And like, apparently she's never allowed back in Romania because kids were either going missing or getting abused or something. There's something weird with that. We don't have all the facts on it, but apparently she's not allowed to go back to Romania.
But I thought TPUSA got kicked out of somewhere. Turkey? Turkey.
No, CPAC did.
CPAC. Okay.
CPAC is a equally awful but different organization, and the new leader of CPAC the new leader of Turkey, he just beat Viktor Orban even after JD went there to campaign.
That's right.
And he said it turned out that Turkey was funding CPAC, giving them a lot of money, and that's why there was this relationship. And he said he's cutting that off immediately. People are speculating that was a way that Russia was funneling money to CPAC, was through Turkey. I don't know if we can ever prove that, but that's speculation. So back to TPUSA. I didn't pull any clips of it, but JD, while he was talking, was getting like heckled by people in the crowd, and they were like, what about the children? What about the genocide? Blah, blah, blah. And he kept trying to like, okay, calm down. Let me talk about this. And like, none of his answers were great on it. So that seems like the young white males of the Republican Party have turned incredibly anti-Israel. And JD, so he's a question mark because he's not down with this war. It seems like he's less pro-Israel than Trump is on a lot of parts. And remember, Tucker Carlson, who is not pro-Israel at all, his son is working in JD's comms department. So there's a little connection there. But then there's stories in the last week that JD is trying to cozy up to Miriam Adelson because he wants that big campaign money from her. So I don't know which way he's going to go. Like he kind of needs the pro-Israel lobby to have the money to get elected, but he needs to have a message of not pro-Israel to have the youth vote for him. So he's going to have to walk a weird tightrope if he wants to run for president.
He's out. Yeah. Nobody's going to vote for him.
If he's smart, I've said this before, he should announce towards the end of 2027, he should say, I'm not going to run for president because I want to spend time with my family. He's got a new child on the way, this and that, and wait 4 years. And then in 2032, try to make a comeback. But 2028 is not the year, buddy.
I mean, what if has a vice president ever has they ever quit or been fired?
So the only time I know that it's ever happened is like after the first 4 years, they'll do a change of ticket for the next election, and they'll announce that for whatever reason, he's done well, my VP served me well, but he's going to go on to do something else, and now I'm running with this other person. I'm sure it's happened, but I've never seen anybody like leave mid-term. So it might have happened.
What if he did that? What if he just like went, hey, I don't agree with this administration anymore, and I'm done?
Man, that's such a dangerous one, though. I was going to say that's the only way he has a chance to win in 2028. But if he does that, then Trump goes on the attack. And, like, so far, we have yet to see anybody who stood up to Trump and won. Like, Trump wins. Every time someone tries to defect, Trump ends up coming out ahead in that. So his best move is to ride it out and then disappear for 4 or 8 years and then come back. That's his best. That's his best shot right now. So
what a rough place to be.
I had a weird thought last night. If you could go back in time to your 2011 self, 15 years ago.
2011, okay.
And just tell yourself that, like, hey, what's going on in 2026? Well, President Donald Trump keeps escalating his fight with the Pope.
Why 2011?
I just picked a random time, 15 years ago.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Back when we thought there would never be a President Trump.
President Donald Trump is picking fights with the Pope.
He keeps escalating his fight with the Pope. Like, I think 2011 me would be like, what the fuck is going on in the future? Like, what? But that's been a headline for the past week, is that like Trump keeps escalating, or the Pope. They're saying the Pope is escalating. The Pope's tweets are like, so after JD, or hold on, have we even talked about Hegseth's tweet yet, or his prayer?
No, not yet.
Okay,
No.
we should get that there. We should get that out of the way real quick. Do you have that?
Yes. Hegseth prayed again. That's where we're starting with this.
Especially this CSAR mission that happened in real time. They call it CSAR 2517, which I think is meant to reflect Ezekiel 2517. So the prayer is CSAR 2517, and it reads, and pray with me, please. The path of the downed aviator is beset on all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who, in the name of camaraderie and duty, shepherd the lost through the valley of darkness, for he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to capture and destroy my brother. And you will know my call sign is Sandy 1 when I lay my vengeance upon thee. and amen.
So I saw a meme today that basically said that Hegseth had done the Ezekiel 25:17 from Pulp Fiction, and I was like, "There's no way. This has to be a lie." And then I found the clip, and he didn't. So it kind of makes sense in one way. He said it's Caesar 25:17. Caesar stands for, I can't remember the acronym, but it's basically the search and rescue that would go out and find a downed pilot. Like whatever that is called, it's Caesar is the acronym. So that makes sense. But also like he did that during their I think they have a weekly prayer service at the Pentagon, and it's for anybody who wants to come except for Catholics apparently.
Now, is that a separation of church and state?
No, they shouldn't be doing this. This is flat out like should not be having this at the Pentagon. We're past that. That's happening. But he did it at the actual prayer, and it's like if he had done that as a funny aside, like at some other type of deal, maybe. But he did it during the actual service.
He actually like made people bow their heads and said amen at the end.
Yeah, it
was prayer. And Pulp Fiction took Ezekiel 15:25 or whatever and revised that and made it like a longer version. And then he had his, or whoever did this prayer to start with, revised that version of Ezekiel. So now we're just revising the Bible to make it fit where we want.
Apparently so. And that's what
I'm okay with Quentin Tarantino doing it. I'm not okay with like her.
I'm not okay with anybody doing it during a real church service. Like that's if it's in a movie, that's one thing, but this is at a real church service, let alone at the Pentagon. But whatever. And then so the Pope escalating. Like here's an example. I believe this was today after the Hegseth. That speech from Hegseth, by the way, is like a week or two old. That Ezekiel 25:17. We apparently just stumbled upon this somehow, but that happened. That happened a week or two ago. The Pope tweeted, I believe today after that, and his tweet says, "Woe to those who manipulate religion and the very name of God for their own military, economic, and political gain, dragging that which is sacred into darkness and filth." And I'm like, you know what? That sounds about accurate right there. Like, I don't want to say that's just a statement. That's a fact. I don't know I mean, that's exactly what I would expect the head of a church to say in this situation. And the Pope tweeted that, and like Republicans on Twitter and like I'm sure Fox News and Newsmax were like, "Whoa, the Pope's escalating things." And it's like, okay, if that's how we're doing this, so the Pope and Trump keep taking turns escalating is what MAGA thinks.
I do like that the Pope's fighting back. He is fighting back on this.
I'm Team Leo. Like I want to get a hat or a shirt that says Team Leo. Like I'm fully on the Pope's side of this whole deal right here.
Confident Idiocracy, our first merch, Team Leo.
I like that. Well, here's the thing. I'm not saying the president has to listen to the Pope, okay? Like, there's going to be war. I get it. I don't think the Pope should ever be in favor of war. And unless, like, if we got sneak attacked, and I'm sure there's some scenarios where the church would be like, you gotta fight back, or something along those lines. But in general, like, if the president says, like, hey, we got to do this war, and the Pope says, hey, I really wish you would try to do peace instead of war, and come up with a treaty or an agreement. Like I would expect the Pope to say that. And sometimes the president's just got to say, hey, we're not doing that. Sorry. And we're going to go to war. But
why doesn't the Pope actually step in? I've never heard of any country like when you're going through peace treaties, like bring the Pope in.
So that actually used to happen a lot for like,
that would be amazing.
For hundreds of years, the Pope was involved in like settling disputes. I don't know when the most recent one was, but I know that in my lifetime, it hasn't been a thing. But back in the day, hundreds of years ago, that was a thing. The Pope was someone who brought leaders together and worked out a deal.
Are we turning Catholic again?
I am Catholic. I identify as a Catholic right now. As soon as all this dies down, I'm going to go back to not identifying as a Catholic. But for the purposes of this moment in history, I am Team Leo. I'm a Catholic. If you got anything to say about Catholics, you're saying it about me. Let's go. Plus, I've told you, I've been dealing with people here in Oklahoma that don't believe that Catholics are Christians, which, like, even though I've said for years that I'm not a Catholic anymore, but for some reason, it's one of those where it's like, hey, I can call my wife a bitch, but you can't call my wife a bitch. Like, that's like what my mindset is, where it's like, hold on, what did you just say about Catholics?
I can say I'm not a Christian,
Yeah.
but you can't say I'm not a
Yeah.
Christian.
Now I'm offended and I'm Catholic again. So you're going to have to deal with that shit for a while. I'm going to have to tell my wife and daughter here soon that, by the way, we're Catholic. We're going to mass.
We're going to mass.
I don't think I'm going to take it that far. I don't think I'm going to a mass. But like, I did look on Amazon and you can buy rosaries for like $20. And I've almost
We're all
bought a
getting
rosary.
baptized today.
I sent you. What's funny is me and you have been talking about this for a couple weeks, and then my mom randomly sent me a picture, and she was like, "Look what I found," and it was like my certificate of baptism. And I was like, I told her, I was like, "Hold on to that." I was like, "I'm gonna need that. I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna stick it somewhere in my office and frame it." I don't know. Right now, I'm very Catholic. So, anyhow, enough about that. Trump. You remember, of course, Trump's post where he was a doctor. He claimed he thought he was a doctor. It very definitely looked like he was Jesus.
Hold on. Our president claimed that he thought he was a doctor.
Okay, I realize that statement by itself. He posted a picture of him, what was clearly as Jesus, and then his excuse was that I thought I was a doctor in that picture. Several people have pointed this out. I got to sidetrack real quick. Carolyn Levitt came out at almost the same time that he did that. I thought I was a doctor. She had tweeted right around then the image was doctored, is what her tweet said, and a lot of people started noticing that. Like, okay, hold on, wait. There's a trend here. Like, Carolyn Levitt said the image is doctored, and Trump said, "Got it. I thought I was a doctor. Got it." Okay, moving on. Like, going way back, he always says like they're coming. All these countries are opening up their insane asylums, and they're letting people from asylums come in. And I've always been like, what? Is there any evidence of that? Why does he keep saying that? But somebody told him, well, sir, they're claiming asylum. And he was like, okay, asylum. Got it. There's been several examples
Hannibal
like
Lecter.
that.
Okay.
I don't know where Hannibal Lecter came from.
Insane
But
asylum, I guess.
even just, a month ago, or less than a month ago, they were like, sir, don't call it a war. We're going to call it an incursion. And he was like, excursion. Got it. And he just runs with it. So I think that they keep trying to tell him one thing and he hears something else and runs with it. That's the only way any of this makes sense. Anyhow, a couple days after the whole doctor incident, when it had almost kind of blown over, it's like, okay, we're done there. He tweeted another picture. I don't know what's sad is this didn't get that big a rise out of people because now we're kind of numb to it. But check out this picture that he tweeted.
He tweeted that?
He tweeted this, and he put a message like, it said something like, "Ooh, I'll bet this will drive the Democrats crazy," or it said something like that. But that almost looks sensual. First of all, that doesn't look very much like Donald Trump. There's something off with the face. But it also looks like.
Yeah, no, I got you. Where's Jesus' hand going there?
It looks like he's getting a reach around, doesn't it?
Reaching around.
It's a reach. Okay, I didn't want to say that, but it seems like somebody's.
Oh, yeah. And Jesus is looking down, and Trump has eyes closed, like he's.
The face Trump is making is of a guy that's getting stimulated. Is all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you realize this could be a sexual picture, you don't know if he's wearing pants. I don't know.
And the American flag in the background. I mean,
American Jesus, buddy. I like to picture my Jesus American. So, anyhow, and then Trump. They did ask Trump today why he's fighting with the Pope. I only bring this up for the tweet afterward. But here was what Trump had to say today. Caitlin Collins from CNN asked him about his fight with the Pope.
Fighting with the Pope, and are you worried it's upsetting your?
No, I don't. I have to do what's right. The Pope has to understand that. Very simple. I have nothing against the Pope. His brother's MAGA all the way. I like his brother, Louis. I'm not fighting with him. The Pope made a statement. He says Iran can have a nuclear weapon. I say Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And if the Pope looked at the 42,000 people that were killed over the last 2 or 3 months as a protester with no weapons, no nothing, I mean, you take a look at that. So I can disagree with the Pope. I have a right to disagree. I have a right to disagree with the Pope.
Did the Pope say Iran can have nuclear weapons?
There's a couple things there. So he's right. He does have a right to disagree with the Pope. Like, he does. Sure. But I would rather he just keep that disagreement to himself and not start tweeting at the Pope. And the Pope is weak on crime. Like, what? Okay, anyhow. He said the Pope said that Iran can have a nuclear weapon. Okay, the Pope didn't say that, in case anybody's curious. But in Trump's mind, by saying that we shouldn't have started a war with them, basically the Pope is saying that we should just let him have a nuke. No, the Pope has been very clear that we should have been negotiating with them. We should try to use diplomatic efforts to come up with a resolution to where they don't get a nuke and everybody lives. Like that's what the Pope is saying. Or at least try hard with diplomacy before you resort to the war, which it didn't seem like we were doing diplomacy just long enough to get all of our pieces in place to attack, is the way it very much came across.
Yeah.
Also, he said like, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not escalating, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? This petty motherfucker, I'm trying not to use the F word on this show, but, he's doing the thing where blue states are not getting FEMA money and certain grants and like projects that are getting canceled are all in blue states that didn't vote for him. Well, this was out of several papers today. I think this headline's from the Miami Herald. The Trump administration has abruptly canceled an $11 million contract with the Catholic Charities to shelter and care for migrant children who enter the U.S. alone. So, and apparently that is going to pretty much put all these shelters out of business. Like that, the money was coming from the U.S. government. And so migrant children that enter the U.S. alone are not going to have a shelter going forward unless somebody steps up.
The Catholic Church has more money than Elon Musk.
Then I hope they start putting it into that. So,
yeah.
But that's exactly like somebody, and I'll bet Trump doesn't even know about this. Somebody who's trying to get in Trump's good graces realized like, oh, hey, I know what we can do. And then they cut this funding. So, okay. So this is the level we're at with Trump.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, who benefits from that? Nobody. There's a lot of children that actually get hurt from that move. And nobody really benefits.
What you could say is you could say that, well, if we were taking that 11 million away and either using it to pay down the debt or lowering people's taxes, whatever, if the taxpayer shouldn't be paying for this. Okay, that I guess. But that 11 million is going to go towards the money we're spending killing children in Iran. So like we're taking the money that we use to take care of children and we're going to use it instead to blow up children. Cool. That's what we're gonna do here. So
not cool.
Anyhow, my last topic is a rough one. So before we get there, I did have a funny real quick. Do you know who? I think her name is Ashley St. Clair. Are you familiar with her at all?
Sounds familiar, but I'm not sure.
She was like a right-wing influencer. She's a cute girl who was online talking shit on behalf of Republicans, and that got her famous. Elon Musk, a couple of years ago, decided that he wanted to have a baby with her, and then he paid her a lot of money. He has like a contract with her where he knocked her up. She's got one of his kids. And then she started talking smack about like Elon and Trump like 6 months to a year ago. And like they're in court right now over it. It's a whole thing, but now she's spilling the tea. She's been going on podcasts and explaining how like every time you see a MAGA podcaster or online influencer, like, hey, we think that you should do this or that, like they're getting paid to say it. Like 100%, like big money is paying these things. Like all of a sudden they're all in the same message and they're all saying we should do this or that. And she, in great detail, is laying out exactly how that works. This is funny to me because Benny Johnson, who I just can't stand for a lot of reasons, he took a couple shots at her for this, and she came out almost immediately and was like, dude, Benny, like, I have so much on you. Like all the rumors about you, I have evidence of it. And the rumor about him has been that he is homosexual. Apparently he's married, he has kids, and apparently the rumors are that he goes to these TPUSA and CPAC events, and it's basically a big meetup for him and young straight white men, and they end up going up to hotel rooms. A lot of people claim this has happened. We don't have any evidence, but like this has been rumored a lot for the last year or two. So she came out and she posted a couple pictures with her and then Benny and then whoever the third person is. Like there's like a GIF over their face or like a smiley face type thing. So you don't know who that other person is, but she's posting these and basically saying, "Don't try me, Benny. Like look what I have here." And what's funniest about this is like, oh shit, like she found like she hasn't officially done it yet. She's hinting at it, but she hasn't done it. And now suddenly there's all these, and they're like lower level MAGA like Twitter accounts are coming out, and they all say basically the same thing. Benny Johnson is a heterosexual. That's the message they're trying to say. But somebody noticed a very familiar thing about all these tweets.
Paid partnership.
So is Benny Johnson paying people to say that he's straight? Because that's what it would appear. And this is one of many. I only pulled the one. I probably should have pulled several to prove a point. But these people are randomly coming out saying, hey, by the way, Benny Johnson's definitely straight. And each one of them is a paid partnership. Huh.
Is he the one that like got a divorce or was almost getting a divorce because he was like he wouldn't let his wife leave the I something?
No, I want to say
His pregnant wife?
I keep wanting to say Dave Rubin, but I'm pretty sure he's gay. I can't remember. I know who you're talking about, but I can't.
Okay.
But yeah, she released like video footage of like them on their
Yeah.
back deck and him like berating her and stuff
Yeah.
while she was pregnant.
Yeah.
I
think you might have been right. It might have been Dave Rubin.
I thought he was gay though. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
There's a lot of undercover
Yeah,
gays
I don't
in the
know what I'm
Republican
thinking.
Party. That's the thing.
Well,
What is it about that?
Well, that's like I never know if it's true or not, but it's always hysterical whenever there is like a Republican conference or even if Trump's giving a rally at some place, like apparently there are Grindr outages. Grindr being the app for homosexual hookups. Apparently like they overload the server in that area and like Grindr's not working because there's a Republican event in town. Now, I don't know if that's actually true. Like every time I see that, I laugh, but in my head, I'm like, that somebody could just be tweeting that. Like I don't know if that's really happening. But in my head, like I want it to be true, so I'm just gonna assume it is. The last thing I got video. Actually, I got 3 videos, but I'm gonna test you on the first one, and we might not go. I truly believe that we'll have episodes that'll get like 500 views, and then the next one gets 20. And there's a common theme between how much I say about a certain country in the Middle East that I feel like definitely dictates how many views we get. So I'm gonna start off this first video. I'm going to throw it out there. We'll see what you think. And then it gets a little rougher as we go, but we can stop after 1 if you want to.
Okay.
This is a video from Lebanon. By the way, we haven't even talked about it. Lebanon and Israel struck a deal on a ceasefire. It's a 10-day ceasefire. They struck it earlier today, and the ceasefire was supposed to go into effect at 5 o'clock. And so far, Israel has violated the ceasefire about 30 times. And just like 10 minutes ago while we were talking, I looked over, and apparently they're bombing them again. Now, part of the ceasefire specifically said Israel does have a right to strike into Lebanon if it's in self-defense. And it's like, well, everything they do, that's their answer is, hey, we have the right to defend ourselves, right? And it's like, was anybody attacking you? So they're going to keep bombing, but they're going to say that it's self-defense. I don't know how long this ceasefire is going to last. This was from yesterday. I believe it was yesterday. It might have been 2 days ago in Lebanon. And I'll set it up a little bit. There was a strike. And what Israel loves to do is they do a strike, and then when like medical personnel show up, ambulances and stuff, they like to strike. They like to do the double tap and get them. Well, this time they did a quadruple tap. Yeah.
The Israeli military today launched 3 consecutive attacks on 3 different teams of paramedics, all operating in the southern Lebanese town of Meyfadoun. And what we heard from the Lebanese health ministry was that first there was a paramedic team that, as is normal, responded to an emergency call. They were going to the site of an Israeli airstrike where there were wounded people they needed to rescue. And as they were arriving to Meyfadoun, they were hit by an Israeli drone strike, killing 2 paramedics at that site and wounding others. And then the paramedics sent yet another team in order to rescue that first team. And as they were arriving to the town, another Israeli strike hit that team and wounded 3 of those paramedics. So then the civil defense decided to send yet a third team in order to rescue the first and the second teams. They were also hit when arriving to the town. Another 2 paramedics were killed in that third strike, and more were wounded. The Lebanese health ministry has condemned this as a blatant violation of international law, saying medical facilities should never be a target under the Geneva Conventions. We're still waiting for comment from the Israeli military on exactly what it was targeting in these strikes. And we know from the past that Israel has accused the Hezbollah militant group that it is fighting a war with in the south of using medical facilities and ambulances as cover for its militant activities. But it has not provided evidence of this. And so far in this war, Israeli strikes have killed more than 91 health workers so far, according to the Lebanese health ministry.
So
Wow.
four strikes in total. First strike to get the first ambulance to come, and then you hit the three ambulances that come to try to save the day. Um, I it drives me insane how Israel will hit a ambulance, and then they'll say, "Well, Hamas uses ambulances to get around." And it's okay, and then they hit a school, and they're like, "Well, Hamas hides in the schools." And it's like, okay. And then they hit a hospital, and it's like, "Well, Hamas hides in the hospital." It's like anything
Yeah.
they hit, they just say, "Well, obviously Hamas was
Yeah.
there." The elementary school, whatever it is. When are they gonna at some point they should have to show some proof or no? What did she say at the end there? They've killed 91 EMS workers since this event started. I think that's
Is
the
that what
last.
she said?
Yeah, 91.
91 EMS workers. That's,
So and there was
I mean,
video.
like she said, it's under the Geneva Convention. You can't do that. You can't target aid workers.
Well, just today they blew up a hospital in Lebanon that was
You can't do that either.
fully occupied, and they said apparently this was you never know if what you're seeing online is true or not. So I'm just going to throw that out there. But
Well,
supposedly,
this is why Netanyahu's on the run and he can't go to many countries.
yes. But they said this hospital had a special unit that was for kids with some kind of a disease. So a part of this hospital was a children's ward that people from across the country will come to with their kids because of whatever. And it got leveled. There's a video of it. I didn't grab it, but it got leveled all at once today. So
That's sad.
quick little side story. A family member of mine that I grew up with, I recently found out my mom was telling me they were like, yeah, what's funny is they were saying that basically that they're not that pro-Israel anymore. They're kind of mad at Israel. And my mom was like, you talk about Israel all the time and how you don't like them. And now this person's saying it too. Like, what's up with this? And I just told her, I was like, if you were seeing the videos I was seeing on a daily basis, you would have these same thoughts. And that made me think though, is the algorithm, is social media turning me a certain way? Or is it just that nobody else is seeing what's truly happening? Or am I seeing something that maybe is not truly? I don't know. I can just tell you that, I don't want to say the word radicalized, but I went from 2 years ago being like, hey, docs, Israel has to take out Hamas. There's going to be civilians that are going to get killed in this process. But I was pretty much just defending them. And over the course of 2 years, I have done a 180. And I'm just like, when are we going to hold them accountable? They can't keep killing civilians like this. It's 100% because of what I've seen online. And maybe
what
it's
you're
bad.
saying online is true. This is the Associated Press. You have to.
I think it's true. I can't say that anything's 100% true, but it seems that when I see something, I go above and beyond to try to make sure, is this, especially if I'm going to bring it on our show, did this really happen? Is this true? Everything I'm seeing seems pretty true. This is just a sample of the things I see on a daily basis. And it's how do you not be angry at a whole country? I don't know what the right word is here. It's a problem. I don't know what to do about it. Because I know that 2 years ago, if I heard anybody talking negative about it, I would have been very pro Israel has the right to defend themselves. That's where I was. Me and you, the reason we do our podcast, I don't know if you remember this, me and you were arguing about what was going on in Gaza, what, a year and a half, 2 years ago?
Okay.
Almost 2 years ago. And we were arguing for an hour every night about it. And
that's true.
I was defending Israel's, the way they were handling Gaza at the time. And at one point we decided we should just record this on Zoom and put it on YouTube. That was the whole genesis of this happening. And now where I'm at mentally on this is a complete 180 from where I was back then. Maybe you won and sucked me over. I think it's the internet. The internet is showing me all these videos.
It's not even the internet, it's the truth. You just see what's actually happening and what's going on. And it's you have a conscience. And if you have a conscience and you know that there's a group of people targeting and murdering children of another group of people, that's bad. If you don't know that's bad, then there's something not clicking in your brain, I think.
And that's it is definitely a sad truth that there's going to be civilian casualties in war. A lot of times militaries try their hardest to limit it, but there's no way to make it zero. It's going to happen. And that sucks. But you would hope there'd be remorse from the people that are involved, and they would, feel bad.
But
That
they're not
last,
trying. The thing is, they're not trying to limit it at all either.
they're not trying to limit it, and like that's one of those what do you call that? That's a subjective claim. Like from your point of view, they're not trying to limit it, but maybe it's upsetting to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, we have a whole nother faction in our country that's kind of like that.
That's scary, and that's what as hard as it is to watch some of those things, like I wish that there was a way to force like the people that are pro-Israel to watch that, to reckon with that. Like, hey man, like there was a vote this week about sending additional weaponry to Israel, and all of them passed. Israel's getting everything they want, but this time way more Democrats voted against it. 40 out of 47 Democrats in the Senate voted against it. The 7 that voted for it, Chuck Schumer was definitely one of them. Kristen Gillibrand, I can't remember all the names. Chuck Schumer was the main one, but 40 of them said no. Even if all 47 said no, it still was going to pass, which makes me think like, why not just vote no? It's going to pass anyway, but just vote. But Chuck Schumer's in a district where he needs that population to vote for him, so.
Well, yeah, and he's being paid by the Israeli lobby, so.
Probably so. So,
yeah.
Anyhow.
Well, 90% of our congressmen are being paid by the Israeli lobbies.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's one of those where it's such a gray area because it's like, hey, it's illegal for foreign countries to donate money to our politicians, but AIPAC literally stands for American Israeli Political Action Committee. So they're Americans that
Propaganda committee.
There are yeah, pretty much, but they're Americans that are pro-Israel. So, but they are American citizens giving the money, but it's for another country. Like it's a gray area. Like I feel like we need to really figure that out. So
yeah.
I'm gonna bring us back up with one good news tweet real quick. In Minnesota, we are actually having the first ICE officer charged with a crime for their behavior.
Okay. This is Minnesota charges first ICE agent with felony assault. So
he's getting second-degree assault, and he apparently was trying to get over in traffic, and, like bully his way in, and he pulled his gun out and stuck it out the window at 2 American citizens driving and pointed it at them, and that's what he's getting charged with. Now, I feel like all the things we saw in video, there's probably so many more people that could be charged with actually physically assaulting people, but I'll bet it's a matter of trying to identify who they are, because if you're the local police, ICE isn't going to tell you any of their identities. So I'm going to bet this guy, they somehow figured out exactly who he was. So there's a warrant out for his arrest, but ICE is apparently not cooperating. ICE is not going to tell where he's at. He might not even be in Minnesota anymore, but so that's going to be an issue coming up where the state's going to be basically asking the government to give him up. The government's going to say no. We'll see what happens there. But the fact that there's somebody even charged is a good thing, because it could potentially lead to ICE realizing, oh shit, like, I don't care what my boss says, I could be in trouble for this, so I better watch what I'm doing. Hopefully.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So anyhow, that's all I got. You got anything else you want to end with?
I got one more thing.
All right.
The World Cup's coming to America. For the second time since '94, I believe.
I'm glad you pulled this, 'cause I've been seeing a lot of stuff on this, but what do you got?
How do you think it's going to be big? Do you think there's going to be like a lot of people showing up? So I pulled the numbers, and the highest World Cup attendance by year was USA in 1994 with 3.5 million. Closely behind that is Germany in 2006, Brazil in 2014, Qatar in 2022, Russia in 2018.
So, and I don't want to spoil your video, but from what I understand, like tourists are not buying the tickets. So let me give you what I learned yesterday about the World Cup. We expected this to be like a $30 billion like tax or increase for us. Like $30 billion worth of money is coming into the economy from outside of our country. Foreigners coming over here for the World Cup. due to anti-American sentiment and all that, it appears the foreigners are not coming. So what'll happen is the tickets will probably still sell out for the games, but it'll be all Americans that live close by that are going to these games.
Probably.
And what they really wanted was the hotel dollars and going out to dinner, all that stuff. The hotels in a couple different cities, Dallas being one of them, are like slashing their ticket prices. Like they had raised them thinking that, oh, people are going to be flying in for these games, and now the hotels are going unbooked. So now they're slashing hotel prices, and you put a big investment in to get the Olympics or the World Cup, and you do that thinking that it's going to be an economic win for your country when all these people come in, and it appears they're not gonna. Sorry if I spoiled your video. What do you got?
No, yeah, let's watch the video.
President Trump added 2 more soccer nations to the travel ban. Senegal and the Ivory Coast joined the list of countries that are banned from coming to the United States. Iran and Haiti are the 2 others. Now, what about people who are voluntarily saying no thank you to the United States? There's a trending hashtag on social media, hashtag boycott World Cup. These are people who say either they planned on attending the tournament in America and are no longer wanting to, or urging others not to. One international man who holds special status at the United Nations says he doesn't feel safe coming to America.
The U.S. is really unable to protect its own citizens right now. We are seeing people killing in broad daylight in streets. So what about tourists? And even the U.S. president telling the world that that the international law doesn't matter to him.
Now, I should note that we could not verify the number of alleged tickets.
So what that guy said at the end there, like I said this months ago, like if you're a non-white person and you're thinking of visiting America, like you could end up in a prison in El Salvador or some African country. Like we're grabbing people off the street and deporting them to third-party countries. Like if I'm not a white European, I'm not coming to America right now. Like just that seems like a basic.
Even then, there's like a lot of instances where like Europeans are getting denied entry, or
that's way better than ending up in a prison somewhere, like somewhere not in America. So just being denied entry, but we have the World Cup coming this summer, I believe is the World Cup, and then we have the Olympics coming
2028.
Yeah, 2028, I think. If we're still acting like this, we put a lot of money and time into winning the right to host all that. And it's going to be for nothing. He's not.
I mean, Germany and France are discussing boycotting the Olympics.
I wouldn't doubt
it. And then you have South Africa and Iran are considering just not even playing.
Oh, if you're Iranian, you'd be crazy to come here.
Yeah.
And real quick, at the beginning of that clip, she said that Haiti was one of the countries that was already banned from coming here for it. Like, what's funny is, I think it was yesterday, the Republican-led House, passed a 3-year extension on protected status for Haitians, which there's a lot of MAGA Republicans that are pissed right now. They are so mad. They want all the Haitians out of here. Remember, the Haitians were the ones eating all the dogs and the cats. But yeah, the Republican House just passed a 3-year extension for them to have protected status to stay here 3 years longer. So I don't know. You got to think Trump. If Trump wanted that to not pass, he would have been tweeting about it, but he didn't say anything. So don't make no sense.
Yeah. Interesting. Anyway, all right. So with the top 5, USA being the first one, has 3,587,000,000 people.
What is this number? What are you giving me?
Attendance.
Okay.
And Russia in 2018 with just over 3 million in attendance. What do you think the attendance is going to be in the USA this year?
I'm going to guess under 3 million. Is this number of people attending the games or number of people coming into the country from outside the country to attend the games?
This is attendance at the games.
Okay. Like I said, I still think, because I think they'll end up slashing ticket prices and people will, hey, I'm not that into soccer, but do you want to go watch this World Cup match? I think local people, I think they'll end up filling up the seats, is my thought.
Okay.
But what's your guess?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they'll fill the seats. It just won't be anybody from any other country. It's
Yeah.
just going to be all Americans showing up.
And that
But
will
Americans don't really like soccer. Like
So-
you could go get an FC ticket, Denver FC, for super cheap, and I doubt their stands are full.
So I think there's enough people like me where like my kid plays soccer. I don't ever watch soccer on TV, but if I found that like Germany's playing the Netherlands within an hour of my house, like if an hour drive, I could go watch two European teams play, or like, Mexico versus USA, whatever it is. If I could go watch that game for not that expensive, I'd go do that. I think there's a lot of people like me that would just go check it out. But that's assuming
Okay.
that's assuming they end up like cutting ticket prices. I think I was seeing that like most of these matches, the ticket prices were like almost $1,000 per ticket. So they're gonna
Oh
have to
my
do
gosh.
they're gonna have to do something about that.
Yeah, people aren't going to go pay $1,000 to watch
Yeah.
soccer here. I don't think they're not going to fill the seats if they keep them at $1,000.
Yeah, they're gonna have to cut ticket prices. But again, like the ticket prices is one aspect of it. Like the tourism dollars is what you're counting on. Like you want that tourism money to come in, and if nobody's coming in from overseas, then it ain't happening. It's not going to be the economic boom that they thought it was going to be. And I don't think there's anything he can do to turn that around between now and the summer. So I think that's what they're locked in for.
So it says the World Cup will be hosted for the first time across three nations: Canada, Mexico, and the United States. So they put USA last. And apparently, I mean, didn't Trump negotiate this whole deal?
Yeah, he led the charge for it. I think we were doing it with Canada and Mexico, but Trump definitely was. Hold on. As of April 2026, the FIFA World Cup ticket prices range from $60 to 10,990.
60
Okay.
is like that standing room at
Yeah.
Jerry World.
So hold on, and that's sorry. So for the group stage matches, the ticket prices start at $120. Okay, yeah. So there's different stages of the World Cup, so it depends on what stage you're going to see. I don't know what any of the stages are, so I'm not going to try to. Knockout rounds cost 3,000 a ticket. And yeah. Yeah, they're breaking it down in weird ways. But
It looks like America has most of the stadiums because they're doing it in Dallas, Mexico City, New York, Atlanta, Kansas City, Houston, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Seattle, Boston, Miami, Vancouver, Monterrey, Guadalajara, and Toronto.
And the only reason I knew kind of about the ticket prices is because I saw that Dallas was hosting a couple different games. I don't think we know what they are yet, but in my mind I was like, oh, like if there is like I don't even know what the good matchups are, but like, like UK versus Germany, or I was like,
Sure.
if there's something like that going on, like I live 4 hours from Dallas, like my kid would probably enjoy it. Like I'd go watch, like it'd have to be the right teams, but I'd do that. And this was about a week ago. I had this thought, and I was like, let me just check and see what prices were. And when I started seeing the prices, I was like, nope, never mind. Like I'll watch that on TV if at all. So
Well, it starts in June, so
okay,
you get time for the ticket prices to drop, bro.
I can't wait. So, all right, you got anything else for tonight?
Nope.
Have a good night. Like and subscribe. And,
Yeah, peace,
and
like and subscribe.
peace to the world. Yes.
Peace to the world.
Talk to you later, buddy.
Later.
Sometimes you eat the bar, sometimes the bar eats you.